Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Colton, and in today's video, I want to just provide a few tips and tricks for things that you should do before your paid photography gig. So if you're getting hired to shoot something, these are a few of the things that you should do before you actually go to shoot it. These will probably be pretty obvious for most of us, but if you're new to paid gigs, these might be really helpful. And even if you're not new, if you've been doing it for a while, sometimes it can be nice to be reminded of some of these things. So the very first one that I'm going to call out is prepping for the gig. And I mean that in terms of the gear that you're going to use, maybe even the mindset that you're in, but mainly things like making sure that the SD card has been, formatted, that it's ready to go, that it's physically inside the camera. Also making sure that your battery is charged and that it is back in the camera fully charged, making sure that your lens are, clean and ready to go, that you have all the different pieces of equipment that you need, if you need any flashes or filters or, any of that stuff, that it is in fact packed and ready. And I would even say double check it, before you actually leave to go to the shoot. Do one last run through and make sure every single thing that you need is there, because you'd be surprised. We're all human. Eventually, we make a mistake and we forget something at home. And if it's your battery or your SD card or your flash, that could be a huge issue for the shoot, and maybe even make it to where you can't do the shoot, which would be literally the worst possible outcome. Now, the second point kind of fits with the first point, which is have backups. Specifically, have a backup memory card or SD card, have a backup battery. You don't have to buy the best of the best for your backup. You can just buy a budget SD card and throw it in the bag and forget about it. And that way, if the day ever happens where you forget your SD card at home, or it gets lost, or it finally dies, or whatever, you have a backup that you can use to still be able to do the shoot. Same with the battery. Just get a third-party battery, even if it's going to do one of those annoying Sony warnings that mean nothing. Have it in the bag, fully charged, and that way if you ever forget your battery at home, or it's dead or whatever, you can still do the shoot. Or if the shoot runs long and you end up filling up your SD card or draining your battery, you have these backups as well, so that even on a longer shoot, you're still covered. That could be the same with other gear. Maybe if your work is very much using flash, you maybe have an extra flash or an extra battery for your flash. So that could extend beyond just the SD card and the battery. But those are definitely the two bare minimum things that you want to have in your bag. Now, the third point is also going to seem super obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do this, and that is communicate with the client ahead of time. Don't just say, oh yeah, I can shoot your gig, and then leave it at that. Set up some kind of meeting with them. Could be, in person, over Zoom, a quick phone call, an email chain, but just get the details that you need. Find out when, where, how long am I going to be there, right? How quickly do you need the photos? Like, what's the turnaround time that you are expecting? How many photos do you want to get from this shoot? Go over how much you charge. Break down like what your pricing is, and then give them an estimate, but also let them know that estimate might vary. If you end up being there longer than expected, you might have to charge more, right? Also go over like how you'll be paid. Is it going to be a physical check? Is it going to be a Venmo? Is it going to be cash? How long do you have to wait to get paid? Like, is it a net 30-day type of thing, or are they going to pay you at the end of the event? Like, get all of that detail figured out. And then if it's a big client, you're going to sign a contract. But if you're not signing a contract, bare minimum that you should do is type all of that into an email and send it to them. Say, hey, I just want to, confirm these details with you. The event's going to be, at this location, at this time. I'll be there for this amount of time. You want me there at this specific time. Here's the turnaround that you're expecting. Here's the number of images. Here's how much I charge. All of that detail in the email, and then at the end say, please respond to this email and confirm that this information is correct. And that way, it's not legally binding, but at the very least, they will acknowledge and agree to it. Or if they disagree, if there was any kind of miscommunication, if they were misunderstanding the turnaround time or how you would be paid or whatever, now you can get that addressed and figured out before you actually do the shoot. You don't want to do the shoot and then find out there's miscommunications and there's issues and have to deal with that at the end of having done all of this work. So get that nailed down and sorted out before you ever show up with your gear. Now, the next point I want to bring up is with portfolios or sample images. If you're brand new, you might not have sample images, and you'll just have to admit that to the client that this might be the first time you're shooting this type of thing. Certainly you could always go out and do one for free and get some sample images, but specifically what I want to talk about is when you do send your portfolio or when you do send sample images, you must make them samples of what you're going to shoot. So as an example here, if someone's going to pay you to do a wedding, right? You send them photos of previous weddings that you've shot. You don't send them photos of street photography that you've done, or concerts that you've shot, or portraits that you've taken, if they're not relevant to the wedding, right? The wedding doesn't care how talented you are at street photography. They care about what kind of images you can produce for the wedding. Same thing, if you're gonna go shoot a concert, don't send them wedding shots and high school portraits that you've done and still lifes that you've taken. Send them shots of previous concerts that you've shot. Can be a little challenging to compile those images when you're first getting started, but it's so important that you do that. It makes you look more professional, but it also gives them a good understanding of what kind of work you're capable of for that specific medium. Now, somewhat similar to that is in terms of how you should dress. I always ask before I go to a shoot, how should I dress? What's the dress code of this event? It's gonna vary. If you're shooting corporate events, sometimes they want you in a suit, sometimes it's business casual, right? A wedding is usually formal. If you're gonna go shoot on a film set or a live performance, sometimes it's show blacks, so it's all black, but make sure the clothing that you're wearing is appropriate to the event or meets the dress code of the event, and that it's nice clothing, that you don't have holes in it, that it's not worn and wrinkled. Iron your shirt if you're gonna wear a dress shirt, right? Look professional, because ideally you want this to maybe be a repeat client for you, or at the very least, you want them to, via word of mouth, spread the word of your business so that you can get more business. If you're showing up to a corporate holiday party in cargo shorts, that's not professional. That's not going to leave a good taste in their mouth, and that's bad. Don't do that. So ask ahead of time how you should be dressed, and then dress in clothes that fit that, but that are also nice. They're not wrinkled, they're not torn, etc., etc. Now, the last point that I'm going to bring up is just in relation to when you're getting started. Typically, the advice I give people is that if you want to work in photography, try to find like one or two things that you like doing and only do those things. Don't be a jack of all trades. Be a master of like one or two. So don't shoot weddings and concerts and high school portraits and menus for restaurants and blah, 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 blah. Find like two things that you like doing and only do those two things. Or even better, if you can just do one thing, do that. Because you'll build a massive portfolio of only that one thing, which is great for any clients that want to hire you for that thing. But also you'll build word of mouth around that, you'll build a business around that, and also you will get extremely good at shooting that specific thing, because it does take different techniques and different gear for various different types of photography. So I would highly recommend doing that. Now, the exception to that is when you are first getting started, allow yourself the freedom to shoot all kinds of stuff. Shoot weddings, do concerts, do birthday parties, do senior portraits, take commercial product photography. Do all of that so that you can figure out which ones you really hate doing and which ones you really like doing. And once you know which ones you like doing, then build a business around only doing those things. Now, I'm talking about that from the business perspective. In your own personal photography, you can shoot whatever you want. But for your business, hone in on a specific niche or a specific subject. So that would be my advice there. All right, so that's all I've got for you in this video. If you have some tips or tricks that you didn't hear mentioned that you personally find really valuable, drop them in the comments below so that anyone watching this video can get some additional perspectives and resources. And also, if you agree or disagree with anything, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to chat about your opinion on that, and potentially improve what I do even for myself before I go out and shoot. With that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. If you found it interesting or helpful, please give me a thumbs up. And I'm also posting videos every single week. So if you want to see more content like this, do hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, for now, I'm Colton, and I'll see you in the next one.